What's up, listeners? This is Joseph Dunlap, executive producer of Player 4 Podcast. First off, an apology is in order here. We were recording our Spoilercast for Avengers Endgame when Tristan revealed that the sound was not correctly being recorded for the first 35 or so minutes. So the episode abruptly begins in the middle of a conversation concerning Deus Ex Machinas versus Chekhov's guns and the difference between the two. We also have special guest Guaco, who has been on the podcast many times before. Alex was not able to be present for this episode. Before the episode officially begins, please note there are spoilers for Avengers Endgame. That said, please enjoy.
There were at least three I can think of that were Deus Ex Machinas that had no setup, and that's a poor execution of a Chekhov's gun.
Wait, you're talking about Signal? You're talking about when Tony used it in the end?
Yeah, in the end when he had a second one.
That one's easy.
Could have ripped the other ones off of Thanos' gauntlet.
No, he just pulled the stones off because he has nanomachines for his suit. His suit has no set layout, and if he built the other one, his information is probably easily stored within his network for his suit to replicate the gauntlet, no problem.
But you're making assumptions that are not explicitly explained.
When you keep saying Deus Machina or whatever, I don't know what you guys do, what the reference for that is.
A Deus Ex Machina? I mean, it's a machine of God. It means that you were handed the solution to the problem and nobody had to do any work for it.
Oh, okay. I never knew the reference for that or the tie.
So can I briefly explain it, because I'm sure we've got listeners who haven't heard the term before, or they.
For sure. So Deus Ex Machina Deus Ex Machina is the term for a storytelling device where there's a big problem and you need a solution to it, and suddenly the solution is just there. Nobody worked for it. Nobody showed any progress toward it. Nobody was even shown to be thinking about how to solve it in the way that this device solves it. But this device, it's usually a device. It's usually a machine. And the thing was that, like, it would be a piece of information in old plays. It comes from old plays where somebody would come down on like a crane and they would be the god character and they would tell the main character a piece of information they had no other way of knowing that would help them find the solution to their problem. And that's where it comes from. It's the machine of God. And it refers to that crane that they lowered the actor down on who played God.
Yeah, it was a Greek theater device where they would continually put characters in hopeless situations and then pull them out of it.
Yeah.
So the Deus Ex Machinas in this film was Captain Marvel's ability to find Tony when he was in a hopeless situation. And being in a hopeless situation 5 years later, which I legit said, she stabbed me in the side when I said it. Then suddenly they figure out time travel. That's set up. That's fine. That's not out of nowhere. Captain Marvel showing up in the middle of the battle with no setup, and Tony's nanobots having access to the design of the second gauntlet and being able to take the stones off of the first one. Seemingly, I guess, because he programmed it, but it's never sort of set up in any way.
Well, they showed that he could remove the stones easily because Thanos pulled the Power Stone off and punched Captain Marvel with it.
Well, yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to address it. So it came as a surprise where he launched in there and suddenly he had all the stones. But it honestly, like 2 seconds of thought made it make perfect sense. If you remember his fight against Thanos in Infinity War, when the nanobot technology allowed him to reform and reshape his power armor to be improved or cover places that he needed it to cover. Like when he got his helmet punched off by Thanos on the first blow, he immediately drew nanobots up from the rest of the armor, uncovering his arm to put a new helmet on before he got punched again, saving his life. And then he could beef up the arm to punch him with that, or beef up his foot to punch him with that. So the idea that he could grab a piece of his own technology, the glove he built, and just have the nanobots carry the stones over to the glove he was wearing, that would just made perfect sense. His suit is synced up with him on a neural level.
Yeah.
It's able to read his thoughts so that he doesn't have to hit any buttons or flip any switches or look at any particular part of the screen to make it do something. He just has to think, I want the hand to turn into the cannon so that I can shoot the laser beam out. He just has to think it, and it happens. And so that's what I'm saying. When you look at the fight at the end of Infinity War, why would he have a pre-programmed make the hand of this suit into a heavy capture weight to hold Thanos' hand against the ground? That wouldn't be pre-programmed in there. He just came up with that on the fly, and the nanobots went and replicated what was in his mind.
Yeah, I still believe he had planned ahead in case he needs to remove the stones. Because I figured this out right after I saw the film and I was on a call with my half brother, and he said that he didn't understand how he managed to get the stones out of the globe when Thanos had them. And I said that, well, we don't see it, but I assume he had like a safety switch because he grabbed a hold under the arm. So I assume he had the safety switch he pulled that dropped the stones.
You could assume that. I didn't even assume that far.
Well, I agree with Tristan. He fused it with his own technology and had it move, because when you were watching Tony's hand, the stones were moving up his arm into position.
I'm not talking about when he puts it on his own glow. I talk about when he removes it from the glow Thanos has, because Thanos takes the glow they made for Hulk, and that glow doesn't have the nanobots in it.
True, but like I mentioned also, though, they're probably easier removed because that's what Thanos did. He pulled off the Power Stone and punched Captain Marvel with it.
Yeah.
And that's when Doctor Strange held up one finger and he's like, this is the one instant that I couldn't tell you about to where you could win. And he's like, oh shit, okay, take the stones, do it myself, got it. So we've been dwelling on the Deus Ex Machina thing quite a bit. I wanted to talk a bit about the flow and some of the choices for story elements. Like, I did like how they executed they actually took in time travel, and the way they took the concept of time travel was a nifty way to do it. And actually, when they started calling it time travel, and when Ant-Man, I forget what his character's name is,
Scott Lang.
Yeah, Scott was thinking of names. He's like, yeah, it's this. Yeah, I guess it's time travel. I actually almost wanted
Time heist.
Yeah, I like that. And also, I was waiting for them to like say time jump, because they're kind of like jumping into the quantum realm and out.
Yeah,
I like how he called it a quantum realm GPS. That was funny.
Yes. So, I like the choice for the time travel, and also the Hulk's explanation to how time travel works, how the future is the past, and if you go in the past, technically that's your future, yada, yada, yada.
I liked how they also dispelled any doubts you might have that that's how it works in the story, where he said, you know, why can't I just go to the past and change things so that he's not there in the future? It's like, well, you can't, because even though you're going to the past, that's still your present. And so, you know, the future you left is your past. You can't alter it. And if you were thinking, well, maybe he's wrong about that, well, then Nebula kills Nebula and she's still there. So clearly they're right. Like, future Nebula killed past Nebula, and future Nebula didn't just disappear. So clearly they were right.
So
that past Nebula was then from a different timeline.
Yeah.
So because they went for the multiple timelines theory, which makes sense considering in the Marvel comics it's all about multiverses.
Right, which was explained by the Ancient One, so it's not like the audience was required to know any of this.
I did like that she made an appearance in there. I like her as an actor, and I did like her role.
And the fact that she knew about when Doctor Strange was supposed to be included and all that already 5 years ahead.
Mm-hmm. She's got the time stone, so there's no reason for her not to know that.
But I did like it's like, well, Doctor Strange gave it. She's just like, wait a minute, he's like the best of us. He just gave it away. There's got to be something up here. So here you go.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. But my concern, though, is she was also saying, I don't know, the time stones present in that time, she said, is what makes their future, their reality. She didn't even call it their timeline. She called it their reality. And to return the stones to keep that line going, and that that the stones were actually what maintained that reality. What happens is, I guess, the reality after the stones are destroyed later, though. Like, what's up? I was kind of worried about that. Does it mean to say that now that the time stones are gone, the future is open to anything?
So, interesting thing. The Russo brothers started doing this after Infinity War and have become very bad about it after Endgame. They like to create canon that they didn't actually explicitly state in movies. They like to tell without showing. Nothing they say is going to be set in stone. So, like, after Infinity War, they were saying, oh yeah, they're still as Guardians. It's just that it's only a fourth of them left because they also got snapped in all this, and Valkyrie's still alive. Well, after this one, they were saying that the Infinity Stones essence cannot be destroyed. They were just physically destroyed. Their essence still exists. So the Russo brothers suggested that while maybe they don't intend to bring them back, they still exist.
Oh, okay. Well, then that supports also the stuff with the Ancient Ones discussion with Bruce, so I'm cool with that.
Well, the essence of the stones themselves is what keeps the universe running.
Yeah, this is kind of like a setup towards the Celestials coming back, because without the essence, without the stones holding the universe together, stuff like that can happen.
So let's talk about things happening as a result of the film. You guys realize that the three out of the 4 snaps that occurred in these films were on Earth, and that's a huge wave of gamma radiation across the entire globe.
Oh yeah, that is very true.
And also, Disney is acquiring Fox and is going to get the rights to the X-Men.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm thinking that these stuff might create the mutants, so
but
they
we already
reboot.
The problem with that theory is that we clearly already have mutants, because we had Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, but they're not mutants in this universe.
They can't use the word mutant yet.
Right, but that doesn't change who they were and what stories they came from.
Well,
but I don't see the objection.
Because
they were also created by gamma radiation. They were created with Loki's scepter.
Yeah, they were created by Hydra. They were normal humans before then, while in the X-Men mutants are born with their abilities. It's not given to them.
Was that explained in that film? Because I don't remember that. I just remember Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch showing up and being like, okay, we got mutants.
Well,
it was explained. It was explained in Age of Ultron that they were created using the scepter.
I just thought that was a misunderstanding.
It was an end credit scene in Winter Soldier.
Right. Yeah, that was the first one.
I'm pretty sure I saw Winter Soldier. I don't remember the end credit scene.
Yeah, well, it was them in rooms secluded from each other. They really didn't elaborate. I didn't feel. It kind of hinted to that being the case, but...
No, it was pretty clear. I just watched the film yesterday. They had Loki's scepter. They said they were going to give up the locations for all the other Hydra facilities so people could go and hunt them down. Meanwhile, they had work to do with Loki's scepter and how they were going to unleash the twins upon the world. Then it showed Scarlet Witch holding things up with telekinesis and her brother randomly running really fast and stopping.
Honestly, I guess the way we could guess at how they could justify that is just the gamma radiation is speeding up the mutation, and it's always been present.
So there's some elements of it that people have speculated on, which is who's to say this isn't just the Fantastic Four get activated from the gamma radiation, or who's to say that while we do know canonically Gene X, I believe, is needed for an X-Men style mutant, that maybe this could cause that genetic mutation to begin to be a thing. Who knows what they're going to do? Kevin Feige's a very smart man, and I trust what he's going to do. But I do know Kevin Feige does not plan to recast Deadpool.
I think that's a good decision.
It would be very stupid to recast Deadpool.
He's going to recast everything else.
It'll be impossible to recast it because it was deliciously good.
No, but it's perfect, you guys. If he doesn't recast Deadpool, it's perfect, because that means that this is a Deadpool who's aware he's changed franchises.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, then he's going to have a third Xavier to worry about.
I trust that they're going to do it in a way that we won't expect, and it's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we can hope. That's another thing to talk about, since they're probably not doing other big Unity movies, is will they be taking from the information from the Avengers and having it present in these other movies that they may make in the future?
I really honestly think so. I think that the Avengers as an entity is no more.
Yes.
The characters will still exist. Hawkeye's going to have his show. Loki with the Space Stone's going to have his own show, I think. And there's going to be some sort of prequel movie with Black Widow, but that's not canonically now. So it's going to be living in a post-Avengers world.
Yeah, I mean, they're not rebooting or stopping the Avengers films in any way. They're just done with the Infinity Saga.
Well, even if they're done with it, they don't have to ever reference it, but it would be cool to see those references in future movies.
The Endgame is heavily important for the next Spider-Man movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did see that.
As is the multiverse.
Yeah,
I still got to watch that the Spider-Man that came out more recently. I haven't watched that one yet. Yeah, I should.
You definitely.
Oh yeah. The Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I've heard it's good. I haven't watched that one myself either.
But back on the end game. Yes. So maybe we should mention some good key points that we thought we were happy that they were present in the movie. Tristan, do you want to start us off? One key moment that you're like, this was a very big point, and I enjoyed that existence was there.
That is a tough one. I still think that aside from the ending, the big emotional one was what I talked about with Hawkeye, Ronan, and Natasha. I thought that scene was executed very well, because I went into that scene knowing that it was going to be a pretty gut-wrenching sacrifice scene, and I even knew there was going to be a disagreement over who was going to sacrifice himself. What I didn't go in expecting was that they were going to fight each other over it, and I should have, because it is a reference directly back to the first Avengers film, when they fought each other and said, or not the first one, Civil War, when they fought each other and asked if they would still be friends after. And the first Avengers film, where he was mind controlled by Loki and they fought each other. They kind of do that in every film, so I should have seen it coming, but it just carried so much more emotional weight this time, and in spite of the fact that it removed the only female from the core team, which I thought was just a travesty, and just a bad and unfortunate decision, narratively and speaking to his character's development and future progress, that was just, it was really well done.
Tristan, I want to respond to something you said, because you bring up a good point. There's so much beautiful poetry to the MCU. There's so much attention and care towards characters and their relationships, that the 3 times that they have fought that we've seen on screen, the first time was Hawkeye trying to kill Black Widow while Black Widow's trying to get him to snap out of it.
Yep.
Second time is they don't want to fight. They're on opposite sides of an issue and they're pulling their punches.
Yep.
And the third time, they're fighting over who gets to sacrifice themselves for the other one.
Yeah, the progression there is gonna make me cry.
Right? So much about this film that makes you want to cry, because they did so much good work with the characters.
Yeah.
Joseph, how about you?
There was that one scene in the big battle in the end, after all the characters had joined, where Captain Marvel takes the glove from Peter Parker, and then every female character that's still alive comes by her side.
Now,
I felt like
I'm
was
agreeing with you.
heavily female fronted, just to be female fronted. It felt unnatural to me.
It was. This was something that I had that I discussed with Sam as well when we watched it. I personally feel it was important that they did that. Like, it's a good thing at the end of the day that they had that moment where they had nothing but females on the screen and showing them, kicking ass in the battle. Yeah. That was an important thing to show. But as my friend Sam pointed out, it wasn't really earned. It wasn't an earned diversity. It wasn't an earned. This was definitely what you call virtue signaling, where the virtue they're signaling is we respect our women and we show them and empower them. The thing was that those women didn't have any development earlier in the story, except for what they were given in the films where they were highlighted, which it's good that they had films where they were highlighted, but they deserved a little bit more screen time, I think, than what they got, or much more. But I still want to say you got to start somewhere. And so the fact that they had that moment where they said, we're going to highlight the female heroes and at least show them kicking ass and get all the men off the screen for a moment here, it's a start. I'm going to say it's a step in the right direction. And I appreciated it for what it can spark in future movies.
There was only 3 women out of all of them that had presence, and it was a small one in Endgame, which was Valkyrie, the main head captain of Wakanda. I forget her name.
Okoye.
Okay, yeah.
I also thought she was going to be way more included, but they kind of also just put her aside.
I mean, I think that was Shuri's. I think that was Shuri's only scene. Black Panther's sister, Shuri. I think that was her only scene.
At the end, that was the only one.
One other when she came out of the portal with.
Well, no. I was actually referring to the portal scene. Everybody was shown it at the very end, so I don't even count that.
No, but I'm talking she was in the hologram managing things. That was the only time you seen her. And like I said, Valkyrie, you only see her when you go to New Asgard. Only a quick little bit with her. And then
the end with
Captain
the
Marvel.
Scepter. And
Captain Marvel was only there for a short period of time too.
And they played her off for one joke about her donning, the iconic LGBT female haircut. That was it. I'm talking about Captain Marvel. I felt really, I liked the movie overall, but I felt like it didn't treat its female characters well.
I think there's a problem where they wanted to give a lot of time to completing the arc of the 3 most powerful Avengers.
Yeah.
But
because we need more fat Thor.
So when we had the scene that we were talking about, I knew what was going on. I didn't see it as virtue signaling per se as much as I knew exactly what they were doing. They were wanting to have a scene with women in it because it's empowering to do so. But I did feel like it was unearned because simply having a scene where all the female characters are kicking ass together does not excuse you for making them non-characters for the other 2 hours and 55 minutes of the film. That's my take on it.
Right.
But I did not think it came out of nowhere that they were there.
No.
Because it's been established in Infinity War that they find each other.
Yeah.
And so it made sense that maybe they would start to form little groups and find each other and have each other's back. And then suddenly Spider-Man is in trouble. And they're like, no, we're going to take care of Spider-Man. And then they all group up together.
Yeah. And it makes sense. It was like the scene explained itself. Once Hulk did the snap and brought everyone back, you brought back Doctor Strange, who has the ability to teleport large numbers of people around. And so he can start gathering these small groups and gather other mages, which is what he did. Like, that's what I mean when I say the scene explained itself. So simply the mechanic of all of those portals opening and being the very obvious wizard portals, you went, oh, okay, they snapped back Doctor Strange and he got all the other wizards together and they got all these people together and boom, here they are. So like that scene didn't need explaining. It was well done.
I wasn't talking about the portals.
That scene though, that scene when all the portals opened, that was my first real cry moment. I really love that
definitely
scene.
For me as well. I was like, it's a spectacle, but man, that music is moving. Okay, my turn. What I'm glad that they did was Thor's arc. We didn't really talk about it much. I think Tristan made an allusion to it.
I did.
But I think I am very glad that they had an arc of Thor giving up, letting himself go, and still being worthy of Mjolnir. Meow meow.
Meow meow.
I think that is an important message, that it doesn't matter where you are emotionally or physically. It doesn't change the essence of who you are, and it doesn't change your worthiness.
Yeah. And it also...
Go ahead.
on. No, you go.
He did not have a Rocky montage of getting back in shape. He didn't suddenly use the hammer to give himself an outfit and abs like he would have in Thor Ragnarok. Outfit. He didn't do any of that. He fought Thanos as himself, his flabby, melted ice cream self, and there was no message in the movie that said him being, a beer gut dude with long braided hair changed anything about his combat abilities.
He did put an outfit on himself with his thunder, but he didn't change his gut, and he also braided his mustache.
He braided his mustache. That's true. That did change when he called down thunder. I think what was most interesting about the scene that followed that I'm Still Worthy was after Captain America proves that he's worthy of wielding Mjolnir. They then are equally worthy of both weapons, and at one point during the fight, they end up with the other, now America had the axe, and Thor had Mjolnir again, and you'd figured he would be fine with that because, Mjolnir is the original great hammer, and the axe he got when Mjolnir broke, but then in that moment, they still played it off for a laugh, and he's like, no, you get the small one, and took his axe back from Captain America.
What's the big one that has the power of the Bifrost?
Yeah. Did it have the power of the Bifrost?
Yeah.
It does.
The thing is, if you ever go back and rewatch the films, because I'm currently in a marathon with the family, we're working our way through phase 2 right now. Watch the scene in Ultron where everyone's trying to move the hammer, and yes, everyone remembers Cap made the hammer. Everyone noticed that Cap made the hammer budge. But there's a detail that you're going to notice more the next time you watch it, which is Thor's facial expression of concern.
Yeah, I saw that. I've seen that
the first time. I love that face. Oh, shit.
But there's more to it. Because Cap saw Thor's reaction and then gave up and went, "Oh, I can't do it."
You think he played it off?
I need to look at that. That part I didn't catch.
Yeah, he gave up after that because he budged it, and that was enough for him. And he knew that Thor's ego was easily bruised.
Yeah. And
then the full circle when he finally summons the hammer and Thor sees this and goes, "I knew it."
Yeah, because Thor knew that this is a either you are or you aren't situation. You're either worthy or not. You are not half worthy. You cannot just budget. You can either lift it or not lift it.
Yeah.
So the fact that it moved means that he is worthy. He can now pick it up.
So far, there's only a few characters who've done that. Mr. Rogers.
Yep, from the comics.
Vision, Cap, and Thor, and Odin. Thanos isn't worthy, but he did catch it. That was an interesting thing that happened.
I would argue he didn't hold it up or anything like that. He just stopped the force as it was coming toward him.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'd say there's some wiggle room on that one.
Yeah,
that speaks to the power of a Titan. Okay, Malachi, you get to be the last one on something you're glad they did.
Oh, I agree with Tristan's feelings on this, and it is something that sits well with me in storytelling, is consequences. It was sad and it sucked, and they really rubbed it in with his freaking daughter. But with Iron Man, him dying in the end, like the fight has, and also with Romanoff dying, like there were consequences to all this happening. It wasn't just everyone was saved. And
it also wasn't just Vision died in the last movie before the snap. It's characters died in this one.
Yeah, I like that there was solid things in here that it was like, this happened, it's not going to be changed. It sucks, we know, but this is the way it is. So
let's talk about Tony's death then.
Oh man, do we have to? It broke me.
It broke me too.
Like, I was so... Okay, I want to start this one off because I was already dealing with the fact that the women were being underplayed in that big fight scene. So I was already a little bit upset about that. And then when Tony goes down after making the game-winning snap, the people that are surrounding him are all men, and the person stealing the screen there is Tom Holland in his goddamn Spider-Man outfit. And it's like, Pepper is on the field in an Iron Man suit. She should be the one in the scene. And
She did come to the scene, though.
She did come to the scene. She came in later, and she was played beautifully. Like, I thought there was probably no more perfect or gut-wrenching thing she could have said to Tony than to assure him in his last moments that he's done everything he needs to for them, and they'll be fine without him. It's okay to rest.
Yeah.
And it's also a reference back to the scene earlier when he was struggling whether or not they should just go to sleep and rest this one out, or interfere and try to save the people who lost. So.
You're talking about when he figured out the quantum GPS, where he should bury the solution or help them with the time travel.
Yeah, and she was then helping him towards actually interfering, unlike something she's ever done in the past. In the previous films, she always tried to stop him from being Iron Man, but now she was kind of forcing that into happening. Because
I wouldn't say force. She just knows. She knew that it would eat at him.
It was a beautifully heart-wrenching ending to Bella.
Hang on a second, Joseph. You're breaking up, and we can't understand you.
Oh man.
No, it's not back yet.
No, it's back yet.
Okay.
You sound like an old 80s spell and speech.
Do you want to play a game?
Yeah, exactly.
Nailed it.
Okay. I want to say...
we want to let you say stuff, but the computer doesn't want to let you say stuff.
Iron Man is my favorite character I want to talk about.
I know, but it's not letting you. I'm
a robot. to the story because when Tony and I watched it, the entire theater was dead quiet and the movie was dead quiet. And a little kid goes, "That's my favorite superhero."
Oh no.
Hey, you sound like you're better, Joseph. Quick, do your thought.
Okay, Iron Man 1.
I jinxed it.
This is ridiculous.
I'm so sorry, Joseph. It doesn't want you to have your say.
Maybe you should try to restart Discord.
It's his internet, though. It's not
Yeah.
Discord.
Sound like, anyways.
So wait, if he types it, I can read it for him. Iron Man 1, he says, there is only the next mission. There is nothing else. He said that to Pepper Potts.
Yeah.
Right. So because he admitted that he couldn't rest. There was no resting. There's only the next mission. There is no retirement. There's no family to think about. There's no settling down. And yet he settled down, had a family, and now he's allowed to rest. Is that what you're going for?
I take this
Here you
silence
go.
as
It's
yes.
typing.
Oh, there you go.
Through Iron Man 1 through 3 and Infinity War, we see their relationship is shaped by this. She gets that he will always have the burden of knowledge and purpose.
Am I a robot still?
No.
No.
Okay, so moving on from that idea, she basically gives him permission in Endgame to pursue this, with the understanding she'll probably lose him as a result, and she's at peace with it already. So their final scene together was because she doesn't even allow herself to cry, to shed a tear about it until after. She wants to give him peace in seeing that he has fulfilled his life's purpose. But
Yeah.
now she's going to have to live her life without the love of her life.
Yeah. I noticed that too.
Yeah, I also thought it was pretty. Her suit was pretty kick-ass. And then she actually wore it. I was like, nice.
Your mother never wears anything I get her anyway.
Yeah, and also
Hey
both.
guys, so she's actually in a Marvel Strike Force as of last week. She is called Rescue.
Really? Cool.
She is a healing power armor character.
That's interesting. Oh, that's
Yeah,
right. Marvel
yeah,
Strike Force is the phone game. I thought it was a TV
Yeah.
show for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
same
no.
here.
I've been playing that game
She
for about a year now.
in the comics, she's the character Rescue, so they just brought that into the game.
So I think it'd be neat. I don't think she's at a point in maybe her. I mean, she was not young when she started. Neither was Tony when they started in this. So I don't think she's in an age where she wants to be a leading lady. But it'd be cool to see her do stuff in the suit occasionally.
Yeah, but I don't think it will happen. Gwyneth Paltrow tweeted that she's done, so I don't
Okay.
think we'll see her again.
I'm glad that
Yeah.
they were able to bring her back because at some point it looked like they were willing to just have her be an off-screen character.
That was
Yeah.
Iron Man 3 or 2. No, that was Avengers.
Time ones.
That was Age of Ultron.
Avengers, Age of
Yeah.
Ultron. That was when they were saying they were at odds, wasn't it? Like
They said they had basically broken up, and that was like the trigger of Tony's bad mood that spawned Ultron.
So, did you guys like the new musical theme that Alan Silvestri wrote for this film?
Was it the Harry Potter theme?
No, it was not. That's John Williams, and it's not new. The new theme he wrote started off. There was a hint of it when Tony fell asleep and thought he was going to die in the spaceship, in the spaceship, and then Nebula grabbed him and put him in his chair, and then the music. I loved it.
Yeah, I remember that, and
That
that's
was-
when Captain Marvel appears in the score
Yes.
builds.
And the place there is his funeral, and then after that, it plays on an acoustic guitar while Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch, remember those they've lost. Then it plays again a little bit later, and then I think that's as many times as we hear the theme. But that was an actual new theme written for.
Okay, so like I know that I was focusing on the story, and the theme, the score did exactly what it was supposed to, which was help tell the story and get you emotionally involved without being overpowering. So I think I would have to have subsequent watches in order to really pay attention to how the score was being used. At the moment, I couldn't pick that piece out if you asked me to.
Same here. I didn't have enough to absorb it.
But I'll take it into account when I watch it the next time. So I listen for it.
So who else really loves Robot Joseph?
It's fantastic. But so
I
yeah,
love Robot.
He's my favorite character. He's my favorite superhero.
I thought the choices they made in the movie, they had quite a few really good choices. And like I said, Tony Stark not making it was a big deal, and it was worth.
I called that though. I told before Infinity War, I had my prediction about who was going to live or die. Before Endgame, I just didn't change that.
I thought they were just gonna have everyone live. That's why I was happy to see what I did.
What I said before Infinity War to everyone in my family and such is that my prediction about at least the two biggest characters here, Captain America and Iron Man, is that Iron Man was going to die and Captain America was going to retire. I said that before Infinity War.
Oh, yeah.
And I was spot on. But for Endgame and not for Infinity War. That was my mistake, is that I thought that was going to happen by the end of Infinity War, but that ended up being the end of Endgame instead.
I was really surprised, building on that point, Guaco, that Cap didn't try to jump ship the first time they went back in time. Like, because you saw him stop and watching Peggy, and I was like, he could just stay here.
Yeah.
No one would know. And then they did it at the end. I'm like, okay, I knew he would. I I just wasn't sure when.
He's causing multiverse paradoxes by that, though, but,
It is unfortunate.
You gotta think that Captain America has a high level of intellect, that he would have probably found a way to stay low on the radar to not cause a problem.
Well, he causes a problem by being there.
Yeah, and
just existing in the timeline.
Yeah, but he's existing in a different timeline. That is not the past in the same timeline.
Which is interesting, because that you're pointing out, I hadn't think about that. He shouldn't have been there then at the end as an old man.
he got more of the pin particles in his own universe, and when it was old enough and after Peggy died, he jumped back to the right moment.
That's believable.
The Russell brothers have stated it after.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So that was actually the canon explanation.
Yeah.
Got it.
But it was not well explained in the film,
no,
it wasn't at all. No, I didn't see that myself, so I do not take credit from that.
Well, because the only reason why Cap caved at the end, though, is because the mission was complete. Like, the reason why he was able to resist before was because the mission.
Yeah.
He had to save everyone. He had to be the hero.
I have to echo Joseph here for a moment and say no more telling and not showing. It's like, if it's gonna be part of your story, show it to us.
Yeah.
You can't say, "Oh, hold on," hand waving after the fact.
Well, a lot of times with that too is they got to pick the best pieces of the story to make a coherent story that's not 8 hours long or longer.
I mean, there are ways to tell these things. They pulled a JK. Yeah, they're pulling a JK Rowling. That's a fair point. I mean, Bucky is definitely not secretly. It's not a secret, Joseph.
No.
Well, we have been going for quite a long time. Should we look to do some finishing thoughts at all and wrap it up, or are we gonna keep going?
That is America's ass.
That scene was so good. I loved it.
So ridiculous.
I promised myself I was not going to let this podcast end until I had quoted that line.
Oh, I have one thing to say about the scene with the Captain America in the end. That was like Joseph mentions a kid speaking in the audience.
Yeah, it's because he can't trust his microphone.
Yeah, but when I was watching the film in theaters, when we first saw Steve Rogers as an old man, there was one girl in the behind me that started laughing for a brief moment and then suddenly stopped. And I realized that, she for a brief moment thought this was another Hulk mistake and made Captain America old, and then she realized, oh shit, this isn't. And that kind of humored me.
That was that scene with Scott with the first experiment with time travel, that was pretty funny. It's like, I don't know if it was the old me or the young me that wet myself.
Someone wet my pants.
I mean,
I loved when Tony pulls up, after all this goes on, and he's sitting in the car, he pulls up past him, he realizes Captain isn't going to come over to the window, so he goes, fine, backs to him and says, turned into a baby, didn't he?
Yeah.
He knew exactly what was going to happen.
You're pushing the time travel through him instead of pushing him through it.
Yeah. There were so many well-written scenes. Just the one thing they do well with these characters is the banter and the jabbing.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good at that.
All right. Was there any more last thoughts? Because we have been going for quite a while.
Hail Hydra. That's from Joseph earlier. Before I got the chat box running.
That was a cool nod to that whole comic scene that caused an internet explosion.
I go into this knowing that Captain America is smart, but he's definitely more brawn than brain, is how I tend to think about him. But him getting on that elevator and being able to take it just by realizing, right, these are Hydra agents, and there's a time that I was mind controlled by Hydra, so maybe if I just give that a little jump, they'll buy. I was like, I had to lean over to Sam. I'm like, that was genius.
Yeah, it was really good.
That was freaking genius.
Yeah, I let out that.
With it.
Yeah, I don't talk in the theaters, but I let out a small sentence at that point too, because it was just like a good one or something like that.
Yeah, no, it was so good. I gotta say, as my closing thought, I loved the small scenes that they added to the already created films when they jumped us back into these films and then showed us, they showed us a setting we recognized. They maybe showed us a clip of the scene from that film so we'd know where and when we were. And then they went on and built a new scene off of that, like Hulk taking the stairs.
Yeah, that was great.
I love that. Whoa. Capacity, man. This thing's at capacity. No stairs.
And then he just breaks out and knocks Tony Stark over.
And also Bruce Hulk, where he's like, Hulk smash.
Yeah, his heart is so not in it. He just sort of punches the car a little bit. He was loath to take his shirt off. Joseph is trying to make us sign off. He's over there going, good night, everyone.
Alright, yeah, we could go on forever, but that's our feeling on the Endgame movie. We all enjoyed it and they did a good job, so go out there and watch it if you haven't.
Empower female characters. Empower women.
Hold on for 1 second there. Malachi, did you just say go and watch the film if you haven't, right after we had a spoiler cast?
Hey, you never know. Someone could just not feel like watching it and listen to Spoilercast. I can't tell you how many people I know that do that stupid crap, but it happens.
Malachi is my Hulk.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Hashtag goodbye.
No, but yeah, like seriously, I can't tell you. Like, I have a friend that will watch a playthrough of a game before he even played it, and then played it. It's just like
That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing, though.
It isn't. Yeah, but it's just like, why would you spoil that for yourself watching a walkthrough and then playing it? It's just like, why?
So I'm going to upset Joseph now.
Uh-oh.
I think... You remember when the screen started shifting around, it went blank, and I started having to rebuild the whole background?
No.
No?
I saw that.
Okay. I think up to that point, we didn't have audio.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Because for some...
that's not the case.
I hope that's not the case, but I have very little reason to believe it's not the case. Because I dropped the ball, and I assumed when I changed to using one of Malachi's scenes, it would work like when you're building scenes on your own computer, where it ignores the audio sources and only lets you manipulate video sources, so that no matter what scene you go to, your audio sources are always the same. But I noticed about partway through, when that started changing, that I didn't have, that I suddenly only had 2 audio sources instead of 3, and they weren't jumping. And it's because when I switched to Malachi's scene, it gave me his audio sources, which aren't on my computer. And so I very quickly tried to start adding my audio sources, and it wouldn't let me.
Mine just takes strictly from Discord and my PC. I don't...
Yeah, that's what it was giving me, but that's the thing, was it wasn't picking up my mic, and it wasn't jumping while you guys were talking. And so I had to switch back to my scene so that I had my audio devices.
How many minutes was that in, you think?
20, 25.
Well, we did go for a good hour, so it missed a chunk, but not all of it.
So we went for an hour and a half, and the spoilers didn't start till that point.
Right, so it was maybe 10 minutes into the spoilers that I noticed.
If that ends up being the case, we appreciate that you hung with us, even though the episode started abruptly in the middle of a spoiler.
Yeah, that,
Oh, well.
In that case, hey, watch me on YouTube. Just
We-
look at that, Guaco.
We enjoyed just conversing with each other. I had fun talking about it with you guys a lot. So
Catch
I'll-
Toro Guaco, Guaco on YouTube.
I'm playing Minecraft.